They're the benefactors. The CIA's, the book Cult of Intelligence by Marx and Marchetti, one of the best books on the spy system. And it talks about one particular paragraph, I think it might be page 49 in the paperback edition, that the CIA's principal constituency is the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations. That's who they function for. And a spy, a hired hand, a Praetorian Guard, they don't have enough money to decide the agenda, but they do have the responsibility of carrying out such an agenda, and are hired hands or mercenaries. It lays out contractors in tiers. The top tier, the system integrators. System integrators are Lockheed Martin, Northrop, Grumman, Raytheon, Computer Sciences Corporation, General Dynamics Advanced Information Systems, and BAE Systems. In the second tier, composed of companies with combined total revenues of between $1 billion and $2 billion, you come up with companies like Mantech International and PACI International. And what we've got here, on the third tier, you got the Beltway Bandits, Chesapeake Innovation Center, a Maryland business, NQTEL, and Anticity Incorporated, NQTEL, which has a product software called Power Drill. Drill quickly and deeply into written information and uncover important patterns in relationships, including patterns of behavior by a person or organization that might prove extremely useful to the NSA as it analyzes phone calls and dialing patterns domestically and internationally. And in the fourth tier of intelligence contracting is made up of companies large and small that are known primarily for their achievements in information technology, communication, satellites, and also have made major inroads in the intelligence community. Here's where you find Google, which has created a major niche by selling its powerful search engine technology to government agencies. Accenture, ACCENTURE, the global consulting company that was formerly a branch of Anderson Consulting, does financial planning and audit for intelligence agencies, and recently began providing information sharing and collaboration to the intelligence community. Also, you got Microsoft, which sells classified versions of its operating systems to the intelligence community and also cooperates with the National Security Agency in such areas as encryption, computer security, and if you're using a PC with Microsoft's XP system, your system was tested extensively by NASA before it was placed on the market. And also another company, we mentioned Google, Microsoft, and another company, Bearing Point, another major federal contractor. You also got AT&T. Now, of course, AT&T was monitoring the phone calls. They were routing all the calls through a particular location in San Francisco. There are other key areas in this country where information is routed through a single source area in one particular town or city. And we'll talk at another time about 10 very critical areas of high information concentration. So those are some of the tiers or levels of intelligence outsourcing, the type of companies that are involved. I think I'll leave a few minutes for you to ask me a question if you want.
Well, you're bringing up such great points there, and it sounds like you're full of information tonight. You mentioned the threat analysis and also the matrix of fear that mainstream media puts in front of us at nauseum, trying to get everybody afraid of usually phony fears, and then you've got the threat matrix about what these things actually are. Now, in the threat analysis, I wanted to mention, you're talking about all this control through surveillance, and they're outsourcing all this. And the head of DARPA, wants to rebuild the American economy by creating thousands, millions of jobs to chew on all this data that they're collecting. I mean, just like you said, Steve, they're actually taking this data and just to determine which data to actually look at. The computers red flag it, and then they have to hire people to do it. One of the things I wanted to mention to you, though, that you may not know of, and You may know people that have the Apple iPhone, but it goes into a central location also through Macintosh. And now the U.S. wants biometric harvesting from the iPhone, so you can touch your iPhone, and they will be able to give police the iPhones and allow for biometric, basically any kind of biometric identification right from the iPhone at checkpoints or walking down the street, or even potentially reading your fingerprint from the unit itself. So it's definitely crossing over into some crazy things. But what do you think are the major, as far as threat analysis, what are the most important things that we should be looking at right now?
See, I don't know who we are. We're looking at different things. Maybe not, but maybe so. If you were the U.S. government, you would be looking at a certain set of things. If you were a pawn in the game,
the pawns. Yeah, the pawns, like us, the people who are fighting for freedom instead of contracting our freedom to the United Nations. I mean, the people who are really concerned about this kind of stuff. What do you think are the serious issues that we should look into?
Well, again, a threat analysis. When I talked for my lecture the weekend, I talked about the case for internment, a book by Michelle Malkin.
Yes.
Conversation about internment of concentration camps. That is a threat analysis. I sound the alarm on that when you and I did a couple of shows in the past when the American military was harboring around the urban cities right before the election. We sounded the alarm on that. I mean, there are times when we sounded similar alarms in our way of trying to suggest that we are watching or witnessing something that could potentially escalate into something else. I thought that was interesting. Sometimes threat analysis are false. You know, you can let's go to baseball and steroids. Boy, we sure are glad we got Alex Rodriguez because that Barry Bonds and some other guys, man, they're dirty. So we glad we go get this clean guy to come along. I'm clean. Then it turns out as time goes on and information that was already held comes to light, already held. The tests that they took were known to be dirty 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years when they took the test, but the information was not in the public. I would draw attention to George Mitchell, who headed the study, trilateral commissioner, who's gone on to the Middle East, very useful man for the rich and the powerful, very good arbitrator for the rich and the powerful. So the same with the threat analysis, information changes. Say information already held changes over time. I thought about that. What did you think about this conversation over World Trade Center, whether it should be two buildings or whether it should be something else? What did you think about that?
Well, I think it should have been two buildings, and I can tell you why they made it one building is because this gets into the occult nature of, the Freemasons and other secret societies, because the Twin Towers represented the twin pillars, then the old Canaanite philosophy of that hold up the sun door. So that literally when those buildings came down, it was what some people refer to as a sacrifice on the altar of world government. And then it's literally an occult reference where these twin pillars come down and then merge into one tower. So, it's the opening of the sun door or the bringing in of the new age. And it's kind of interesting because most New Yorkers wanted the two buildings, but they went with the one building, which I think is a shame. They should have rebuilt them.
Well, that imagery of Romulus and Remus, the sucking on the nipples of a wolf.
Yes.
And nurturing. In Cincinnati, in Eden Park, they have a statue of Romulus and Remus in the center of the park, and the city's based on 7 hills. And I even try to teach people about knowing your town, what things are named after, why, etc. And I thought it was interesting too that they've spent a lot of money, billions, not to build a building, but to think about building the building. And they said, well, we already spent billions, but you didn't build nothing yet.
Yeah.
And this is the whole game. Folks know how to spend a lot of money even when